Welcome to everybody. Welcome everybody in our shul over here, Avos Shalom, Ramat B'Shemesh, Torah Anytime, Kol HaLashon, and our YouTube channel. We're in Amud Yomi Shiur, Maseches Bava Metzia, Daf Sadi Tes Amud Beis towards the bottom of the page. And today's Amud is Kuf Amud Aleph. We're going to learn a lot of very interesting things about the Motzei Mechaber Lavaraya, about why we don't say Motzei Mechaber Lavaraya, about Bori V'Shema, a lot of very fundamental ideas in the Talmud. But right now, we're still in Tzadi Tes Amud Beis. And last time, at the beginning of the page, we discussed the concept of one item that may have two different values, two different prices, right? For example, if you sell it for wholesale versus retail, right? It's worth different things for different people, different times, etc., different context, and therefore we said also when you pay, if you damaged it, then you pay the lower rate, and we gave a reason. We saw a source in the Torah. Now we're going to see another case of one item that has different values, depends on the time when it's sold. We all know, to give a very extreme example, we all know that if you have a nice esrog in the market, a few days before Sukkot, it's worth one thing. The day before Sukkot, it's worth something else. And the day after Sukkot, it's worth usually zero. You can actually make gem out of it, So time is a very, big factor in the value, how you assess the value of items. And here comes the Gemara, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 or so lines from the bottom of the page. The line starts with word kehediot. That's how we start the day. Kehediot. Omar Rove, says Rove. Hani shkoloi. There were those porters, schleppers, carriers, people whose job is to carry, in that case, barrels of wine from one place to the other. The tavru chavisa the chamra le chanvo, and they broke. Could be it's a mistake, but it was pshia. It was pshia, and they are paid people. Actually, pshia does make a difference whether you're paid or not. If you are a shomer, and they were shomrim, they were workers, they were official workers, they were shomrim. They were poshea. And tavru, what's tavru? Tell me in Aramaic. They broke. Lishbo, tavar. Taf is like shin, right? They broke the chavisa, the chama, the barrel of wine that belongs to the chanva, to the seller. There was a wine merchant, and they mistakenly, but they have to pay for what they did, and they broke the barrel of wine. Okay, what was the value of that barrel of wine? The Yomi deshuka mizdabna bechamisha. When it is Yomi shuk, when it is market day and everybody sells their wine, it's a market day and the price is higher because there's a high demand, that's prime time, then it's worth five, whatever. B'shar Yomi mizdabna be'arba, and in the rest of the week, it's only sold for 4. When it's not prime time, hey day, boom, 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 when it's regular day of the week or the month, then the same barrel goes for 4. When it's prime time, then it's 5. Okay. The Seder, very nice. Now, okay. Now the question is when it happened that they broke it. I'm not going now to all the Machlokas Rishonim over here. I'll tell you, just let's imagine the following scenario that works well with Tosfos and other Rishonim. Let's say that they broke it on Sunday, okay, and the market day is on Monday, okay? And let's say market day takes once, goes, let's say, with a frequency of once a week, okay? Let's say every Monday, not Monday and Thursday, to make it a little bit more interesting, only Monday is the market day, and let's say they broke it on Sunday. On Sunday, it's worth 4, but on Monday, tomorrow, it will be worth 5, and the day later, it's going to plummet back to being 4, okay? Fine. So now the graph goes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Monday, like a heart thing, Okay, very nice. So now they broke it when, let's say on Sunday, when it's worth how much? 4. Tomorrow will be worth 5. Now, ahadrule beyoima deshuka. Now, if they want to give it back during the yoima deshuka, mehadrule chavisa de chamra. In other words, if they want to give it back to him on Monday, they'll just give it back to him. How much would they give it? How much will they give? They'll give him how much? A new barrel of wine. Let's say they have another barrel of wine. They don't want to pay cash. They want to give him a barrel of wine worth how much? Well, depends. If they gave it back to him on Monday it's worth 5. They're paying him the high price, 5. We are now paying you something worth 5, and a new barrel of wine, the same quality, same everything. Then it's fair. Then it's good. They pay him the barrel of wine worth 5, even though when they broke it, it was 4. But Lamaisa, as we're going to explain soon why, he now, lost. Now it's Monday. He doesn't have that barrel of wine that he would have sold. So if they give back to him the barrel of wine, it's the right thing to do. And if they want to give him cash, they give him 5, not 4, because now is Yomi Shuk, and we go by the prime time, by the high market, because that's when you give it back to him. You have to give it back to him when? Now the Yomi Shuk. Some Rishonim would say even on Sunday, even before. Okay, that's actually, let's continue for now. Let's continue. I don't want to mix up other things yet. Now, Bishar Yomi, let's say Sunday went, Monday went by, and he's extremely frustrated. Why? Because he would have sold that barrel of wine and he didn't. So although when they broke it on Sunday it was 4, but really they caused him a loss of 5 of Monday, and now he's empty-handed with nothing to sell. Bishar Yomi, now comes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, v'chule, mehadrule chamisha. They have to pay 5 cash. They cannot give him another barrel of wine. They cannot give him another barrel of wine worth how much now? How much is it worth now? 4. Because when you broke it to him, you avoided, he was preparing for Yom HaShuk, right? He would have sold it for 5. That's a known thing. And every time he sells it for 5, and that's very well known. Now you're giving it back to me on Tuesday when it's worth 4? No. You have to give me 5, and I won't even accept another barrel of wine from you, which is now worth 4. They would tell him, listen, who cares? Well, you can wait for next Monday. Wait for next time. In other words, now it's worth 4, but your whole vort is that on every Monday it pops up, the price bobs up. So wait till next Monday and sell it then. Then you can say no. You will not make me wait until the next market day, because you caused me a loss of how much? 5. You broke it, and there was one Yom Shuk that passed without me having my prized barrel, which I would have sold for 5, right? Had you given to me on the same day, I don't care how much it's worth. Lamaisa, it's the same wine. I'll sell it for 5, right? So you compensated me well. But now you're giving to me back to me after the price went down again. So mimanafshach. If you look at last Monday, yesterday, I lost because you foolishly broke it. Next Monday, no, I'm not supposed to wait till next Monday. No, lamaisa be'etzem, that loss is still there. My loss of 5 is still significant in my pocket. I didn't sell it last Monday. Next Monday, but next Monday they're gonna freeze my account, cut my water, and cut my water bill. Yeah, what do you mean to wait till next? That's Tosas Chiddush. Yeah, again, there are many discussions here in the Rishonim. I'm giving you like a sikum over here. That's the idea. Do you pay for the actual value? It's a Chiddush, of course. One could argue no. Listen, we broke wine, give back wine. The Chiddush is no. We're looking at the potential of that wine, which is what? Me selling during what? During Yom HaShuk. And you caused me that loss, and now you're giving me back too late. Yeah, unless you give me 5. Yeah, I lost 5. Not give me 5 like that. Pay me 5. Pay me the high price, which you really caused me to lose. 1 minute. The lawyer moron. Now that is only true because it's not a groma. It's a might be a dime, but the loss is like a chain reaction kind of thing. Because you lost 4 or lost 5, we do have our limitations here. We're going to see 2 limitations to what he can demand from them, 2 limitations to him, to the one who lost. The lawyer, and that is only true. That's only true if he really didn't have any wine to sell. Soon you'll see what that means. I'm just translating. If on Monday he was really empty-handed, misken, there's a big sign, wine shop, and there was no wine because they broke it. He didn't have the wine. They really caused him a loss. Let's say he had wine. Again, let's say he had wine and he chose not to sell it. He should have sold it and he didn't. Which means, if there's a question whether it's out of his own will or it just happens to be that way. But one thing for sure, if the person had wine, let's say he could have sold wine. He had other barrels of wine. And then he didn't sell wine. He went skiing. He sold figs. He, did acrobatics in the market instead of selling wine. If he did not have wine to sell anyways, right? or let's assume he chose not to sell the wine, then he cannot claim because they say, look, you chose not to sell the wine. You're coming to us as, the miscan, the victim. Oh, you caused me a loss. You could have sold other barrels of wine and you chose not to. That showed that you really were not into selling wine anyways. Then it's not a problem. Then of course we'll pay you just for or regular wine worth for, because you proved yourself that you're not interested in selling wine. I'm choosing one way of the Rishonim, I don't want to confuse you too much, yeah? And Mimela, if you had wine or it's nicker, you wanted to sell wine and you couldn't, and you can prove that in BSD, then really it's their fault. Yeah, he would have sold the wine and he didn't. Put a big sign, the thing was broken. I felt so like a complete idiot, not having the wine that was going to sell. Then he can claim, give me 5 now, give me the high price, because that loss you caused me. Another kula on their side, kula towards the ones who broke. Umenakile, one thing we have to deduct from what they take, yeah, from what we charge them, menakile agar tirche v'dmei barzanioso, which means when that person says, I would have sold it for 5, really, how much is the wine really, in inverted commas, worth for? It's not really worth for. Prime time, high time, market time, I could have sold it for 5. So your Maise B'yadayim of breaking with a bit of a gromadi kenezek, I would have sold it for 5. Give me 5. Yeah, you're giving me now something worth 4. No, give me 5 in cash. Now, if your entire reason for charging 5 is you would have sold it, then menakile. By the way, in modern Hebrew, we also say lenakot. Lenakot with chof means to reduce the price, to take away from the price, like to clear a check is called lenakot at a check. Yeah, umenakile. We have to reduce or deduce deduct from, we take from them the expenses he would have had on Monday on the market day had he sold it. Agar tirche. Let's say the guy himself is a big businessman, with a nice suit. He doesn't sell there in the wine shop. He hires a guy. He hires what? Some board yeshiva bacher in Ben Azmanim to sell the wine. Oh, so that would be your expense, right? In other words, it's worth 5 in the market, be'etzem, yeah, but you also have expenses. So agar tirche, the agar of the tircha of what? Of either paying somebody else or you yourself maybe would have taken your own money, the amount of money it takes to pay the salesman, and also dmei barzanioso. Dmei barzanioso, we discussed it in the past, it's either barzanioso or karzanioso. Barzanioso means berez. What's berez in Hebrew? A faucet. So barrels were made out of cheres, made out of clay earthenware, and it was very hard to actually make a nice hole in the clay. I don't know how they did that, and have a proper berez, like a small, how's it called? The little faucet. What? The spigot, right? Spigot is the one, right? It's a small thing in the berez of the barrel. You would need a professional to actually have that done, to install that. Or karzen yoso lehachriz. What's a chozo? Advertisement. You think advertising is the new thing? It's not. Yeah, you would have paid someone to run around the market back and forth, either walking or a donkey or in the car, yeah, and announcing so and so has beautiful, amazing Chardonnay wine to sell. In other words, and those things you'd reduce from, you deduct. You deduct from the money, from the 5 that they would pay you. Again, so let's summarize. We're talking about wine that's better worth 4. So if they pay him during market, so if they pay him, and when it's market time, it's 5, but 5 in total. 5, not including the expenses, right? He would have to pay someone for these expenses of selling the wine. So the salesman, the guy who does the chovis v'chule. Now, if they pay him if they give him back the wine while it's the market day, fine. Take the wine. We broke the wine. Take back the exact, an identical barrel of wine. Sell it. Goodbye and leave us alone. Beseder, right? But however, if it's out of not during market time, it's a day later, 2 days later, then they have to pay him not a barrel of wine. They have to pay him 5 minus the expenses. Why? Because Lamaisa, they caused him a loss of 5 minus the expenses. Yesterday I said I would have sold that barrel of wine. Look, I did sell every other barrel of wine. I sold 3 barrels of wine successfully. Let's say, had I had the 4th one, which you klutz people, you broke, I would have sold the 4th one. and each one went for 5, or 5 minus thing, whatever. Yeah, you mainly have to pay me 5. That's the logic. I wait for next time? No, I won't wait for next time. No way. You caused me yesterday's loss. You caused me the loss of the previous Yomi Mashuk, and that loss is something you have to take upon yourselves, and that's halacha. So here we are saying we're going in the stronger umdana, starker, more expensive umdana. Question time. And we're up to today's Amud Baruch Hashem of Kuf Amud Aleph, my friends. 100. We made it 100. Kuf Yutes is the end of the Masechta. Yeah, let's get ready. Says the Gemishna, we're going to learn concepts about the Moitzim Chaver Lavaraya versus Yachloiku, as we're going to see soon. A Machlif Poro B'Chamo. A person exchanged his cow with his friend's donkey. I have a cow, you have a donkey, and we did have a Kinyan Chlipin. Chlipin means what? I have the cow, you have the donkey. Now, one of us has to pull one, it's not Kinyan Meshicha. The Mishnah says Machlif, not Kinyan, but Chlipin, which means if one side, did the exchange, a barter deal, as you call it in English, and let's say one person, let's say I want to sell you my cow, my cow, I have nothing to do that anymore, I'm going dairy free, and now I want to give you my cow, she's, good girl, and now I'm pulling your chamor, my cow, wherever my cow is, either, remember the examples, either in my house, your house, maybe it's already there, maybe grazing in the meadow, doesn't make a difference, my cow is yours. Once one side is done, the other side automatically belongs to the other guy. And once I pulled your chamor, your donkey, automatically the cow, wherever the cow may be, belongs to you. And that's called chalipin, kinyan chalipin. The mazel tov. The cow had a baby, baby boy, baby girl, but it had a baby, a calf. Now, what's the question? The question is, as we're going to see, when did it give birth? We know that the transaction, I went to your house in a different town maybe, or different street, and now I pulled your chamor. Nobody was present when the cow gave birth. So let's say we know that the kinyan took place Sunday, 2 o'clock, but we don't know whether the cow, we don't know who's the owner of the cow, when it gave birth, the cow, was it when it's still owned by me, or when it was already owned by you? So we don't know who owns the little yingale, the little baby, the baby cow. We don't know who's the owner, because we don't know. Oh, no questions till the end of the Mishnah. Por favor. Machlif por b'chamor. The Yoda gave birth. A person has a shifcha, and he sold the shifcha. Here we use the term hamoicher, says Rashi. Why? A shifcha, as opposed to a poro, is sold how? With kesef, with money. So then there doesn't have to be chlipin. The mere fact that I can sit in a nice air-conditioned office and I sell you my shifcha with what? Money. Once you gave me money in the air-conditioned office, the shifcha is now in the field, in her house, in wherever she is, in hospital giving birth, wherever she is, Now, I got the money, the shifcha is yours. The shifcha gave birth, and it's not recorded when she gave birth. It's not a modern hospital. We don't know when she gave birth, before or after the transaction. Now, what is the argument? Well, what do you mean, what's the argument? One of them says, the original owner says, let's assume it's a boy. Let's assume now, big question. If it's a boy, I know from some reason, I have my people, I have my knowledge that the shifcha or the poro gave birth when they were still under my authority, my ownership. So the baby is mine. And of course, nothing was said about the baby. The assumption was the baby will belong to wherever the shifcha belongs to, right? Nothing was said about that. It was born when it was still under me. The other one says, no. I know that the shifcha / para gave birth after the transaction, so now the baby already belongs to me. Because it was born to a para or a shifcha that already belongs to me, and each side says his own side of the story. Yachloiku, they split. Now, let's make a nice split, King Solomon style. Yachloiku. That's what the Mishnah says. If you want to know why, you'll see it in the Gemara. But we say split the two, split the baby, one day by me, one day by you. Shecht the cow, the baby cow. Each one gets half the body, whatever. Yachloiku somehow. Case number 1. Case number 2. A person has 2 avodim. I'm not translating that word, The person had 2 avodim. Echad gadol ve'echad katan. One of them was big and strong and worth more. Ve'echad katan. One of them was, younger, less professional, not as big. Yeah, one worth more, one worth less. A person had two fields. One soda was acres and acres, and one soda was a pitzkala, a small field. Yeah, and he's selling what? What did he sell? That's a good question. Which one did he sell? We know he sold something. Unfortunately, the document was not documented well. Everything was not written clearly. Don't ask me why, okay? But that was the case, yeah. The lokech, the buyer, whom we know bought something, I want to stress that. We know that they have some kind of dealing with each other, yeah? Everybody agrees there was a transaction of a field. Which field? Says the lokech, the buyer, I bought the big one. Clearly it was the big one. That was discussed. The big one is mine. The halal, the other one says, Eini yodea. Boom. Borive. Shema. The other one says, Eini yodea. Yes, no, maybe so. I don't know if I sold the big one or the small one. I'm not sure. Scratching my head. What do we say? Zocha bagodol. So, yeah, right now, yeah, Rav Huna and Rav Yudah are happy. Yeah, Bori v'Shema, Bori Odif, the one who knows what he's talking about. Yeah, he's the one who's going to win the case, and he gets the big field. Now, case number 2. This reminds us, by the way, of the previous Mishnah. Hamoicher oimer koton mocharti. Now, the other way around. The moicher, the seller says, I sold the small one. I know for sure that I sold the small one. It's the same thing, but we're switching roles. The hala oimer, who's hala? The buyer. The buyer says, I don't know. I think I got the big one, but I'm not sure. Again, regardless of who's machzik the money or the field or anything, we always say, Bori Odif. Yeah, the one who's unsure is the one who's losing. So that's case number 2. It's again Bori v'Shema, just the other way around. Case number 3. Se oimer god oil. Big red exclamation mark. I know I got the big one, says the buyer. Se oimer koton. No question, Bori. I know I sold it the small one. Absolutely yes. Each one is absolutely certain what he says. Bori v'Bori. Then again, as we saw in the previous Mishnah, and it's a surprising halacha, Yishov ha'moicher shakoton mochar. So the moicher, yeah, in this case, the moicher has to take a shvua that he sold the small one, only the small one. And of course, the question is, why does he have to take shvua? He's be'etzem demanded. Who's the nitba? Who's the one taken to court? Who's the one accused? The seller. The buyer says, what? The buyer says after big transaction, the make l'chaim, and the lawyer is happy, and then day later, the buyer comes and he comes to this tiny field. What? We spoke about the huge fields of acres and acres, yeah? Yeah, and you gave me the small one, I'm taking you to Beis Din. So the one that's being taken to Beis Din, yeah, being claimed against, he has to take Shavua. But it doesn't make sense. Why? Because he's called for Bakol. Why? He's not admitting Chetzi. Because he says, yeah, he mentions that the Moicher says, I bought a huge field in the Golan. A huge field in the Golan, a big vineyard in the Golan. I bought from you a big field in the Golan. No, excuse me. I bought from you a huge field in the Golan. And he comes to a tiny, tiny, muddy courtyard in Bet Shemesh. It's a different place. It's a different field. So it's not Moide B'Miktzas. It's not B'Miktzas. It's Ton L'Bechitin Ol L'Besoirim. It's a different thing. And yet he has to be Nishba. The question is, why does he have to be Nishba? Because he's Koifer B'Koil. He says, I did not sell you the field in the Golan. Rather, it's 0 in the Golan and only a tiny, small, muddy chotzer in Bet Shemesh. So again, the question is, why does he have to take Shvuah? It's very similar to the previous Mishnah, I know. That's to be discussed later. I'm just reading the Mishnah now, translating. Fourth case. So the third case was what? Loggerheads. They both know what they're talking about, or so they claim. So the nitba, the one accused, so to speak, has to be nishba. Let's leave that, in the freezer for now. Fourth case. Both sides say maybe. I think, says the Tovea, that I am owed by you a big field in the Golan. And the Moicha says, I'm not sure, but I think that maybe what we spoke about was a small, dingy place in the Shemesh mud place. Then they split. They split what? The thing in the Golan, they have to split. The question is why, but we say Shema v'Shema. None of them is too sure of himself. Then we say again in the split, similar, by the way, to the Reisha. The Reisha about selling a Shifcha or a Pora, and it's unknown who the baby belongs to. There too, we said the split. And then we had all the other cases, all the variations of Bar V'Shema. You have to remember that for the Gemara. At the very end of the Mishnah, again, is about I don't know, I don't know. Then we say that they split too. That's the structure of the Mishnah, Begadol. Okay, if you have questions that are very technical and to the point, not questions of if, because the Gemara will give us enough of that. Yeah. And the Gemara now asks the question on case number 1. Amai yachloiku. Why did you tell me in the first case? What was the first case? I know that there was a transaction here. I know that the shifra of the poor were sold. I don't know whether the baby was born when his mother was owned by Reuven or by Shimon, right? Why do you split it into two? Why can't we see who's the one, who's the one who's the cow is right now standing in? Yeah, the cow is in someone's reshus, either the seller usually or the buyer. Maybe the buyer already has the cow in his domain, but there's no kinyan yet until the cow owner, pulled his chamor. The cow is somewhere, either by the moicher or the koine. So let's look at who's holding the cow, who's the happy new mother of the baby. The levi idach, who's idach, the other guy should be amotzim chaver lavaraya. Didn't we learn in Kita Dalet amotzim chaver lavaraya? Why do you say you split? What's going on over here? Lichoira, the one who is the cow is by him. The baby is in his reshus also. You want to take the baby out of my domain? That's the Gemara's question. Toisus asks a question here, and I have to add Toisus here. This page we have to mention the two Toisusim. This page you should know is all pages are more important, but this page has a lot of fundamental ideas about the Motzim Chaveroi. Yeah, it takes away many misconceptions. Correct Toisus. Last time I checked, I'm paraphrasing Toisus. You know that babies, as opposed to human beings, they can start walking around pretty fast. Usually on the first day of their life, most mammals can walk. Yes. Yeah. So maybe the animal walked to the other side, to the other person. The Gemara in Cheskas Abatim says that sheep and goats and cows, there's no chazoko. What's a Metzia b'chavel avaraya? If I come to Kolol every day with this watch, which I actually do, right? Assuming I'm not an archive thief, which I don't think I am, probably the watch is mine. Yeah, how come the watch is mine? I either bought it or inherited it. Actually bought it, down in the Merkaz. Yeah. And what? And I didn't take it from you. Let's say you, Yitzchak, can come and say, Akiva, the watch is mine. You can say, watch is yours. The assumption is no. The watch is probably mine because it didn't just travel from anywhere to me. I probably bought it, didn't steal it, or borrowed it, or legally it came to me. When it comes to movables, such as what? Animals, maybe the animals walk to the other person's place. They do. They tend to, right? Sheep can move from one place of the moshav to the other. So why do you say b'chalal there's motzim mechavel avraya over here when he talks about animals? That's Toisus asking on the Gemara. Says Toisus there's something that combats that, and that is called the big yesod, which you saw at the very, very beginning of the Masechta. It's called drora de mamoina. Drora de mamoina means there are two types of sfekis in the world. One type of sofek of doubt is if something by me, there's no doubt it's mine. No, there is doubt maybe, but most probably I come with this to Kollel every day. It's probably mine. You have to prove otherwise, right? There's another case which we saw in Bava Basra, Daf Lamed Daledish. It says there's a boat in the sea, boat in the port. Everybody sees that boat day in, day out. Reuven comes one day and says, the boat is mine. And then another day, Shimon says, the boat is mine. If not for Reuven and Shimon talking, nobody would have thought it belongs to either Reuven or Shimon, right? They, listen to my words, they created the suffix. You caused trouble. You started saying that boat which is moored, harbored on the other side of town, you start saying it's mine, it's mine. You started the turmoil. If not for you, there wouldn't be a suffix to anybody. This watch is always mine. You come and you start telling me shtiyot, prove it. In this case, that's what I stressed when we read the Mishnah, when we know there was a sale, right? We know there was a sale of the shifcha. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows Reuven sold Shimon the shifcha and the para. Yes. The question, if the baby belongs to Reuven and Shimon, is called drora de mamoina, which means even without them opening the mouth, there's a real suffix. Even if you're a person observing from the side, like, you're watching a show, you'd say, hey, wait a minute, who does the baby belong to? Does it belong to Reuven or Shimon? The question screams by itself. In such a case of Dror de Mamoino, yeah, we say that chazaka is important in any event, because even though we don't really know who the cow belongs to, because cows can walk around, we still have to make a clear decision. And that clear decision would be by who's currently holding the cow, which means it's true. It's not a, as I told you many times before, I should have prefaced it. There are two ways to understand a Motzim Chavel Varaya, and that will explain to everyone. Either it's a proof. Listen, this guy's an honest guy. He wears the watch every day to Kollel. He's not a thief. That's a proof. It's his, right? Unless you prove otherwise. There's another way of Motzim Chaver, which means it's not really a proof. I don't know really what happened. But Lamaise, I have a big suffix over here. It's a Dood Mamoino, and I have to decide how to behave, how to act. Then I leave things as they are. And that's the logic over here. It's true that maybe the animal moved, but I want to freeze frame it where the movie stops. There's a question that started. I have to decide on the question. What do we say, by the way, in the case of the boat, the two people started fighting? What do we say? Very nice. Fight it out. Fight it out, whatever that means. Bezin says, listen, we have no problem with this boat mooring, harboring, anchored over there. You have an issue between you. Fight it out, however they fight it out. That's a big question over there. Over here, Bezin can't deny and say, no, we have to decide because there's a real question here that was born as of itself. The cow does belong to someone, and we know that there wasn't transaction. We don't know the fact. Then we have to at least behave in some decisive way and decide, is the cow belonging to the one holding it now, or does it be the one, or does it belong to the other one that held it? Whoever holds it should keep holding it, at least as behavior, if not for a real logical conclusion. Tosis also talks about Bori Veshema, but I don't want to confuse you for now. That's the understanding over here. So here we have to have a Motzim Chaveroi, because we have to have a solution to a Dror de Mamoino. Bezin can't turn a blind eye to something which is a real question. There was a transaction, there was a movement of the Shifcha, and there is probably a movement of the baby also. We have to know which direction. So again, the question is, why don't you say Motzim Chaveroi Varaya? Hapitom to split up. You're right. If the cow was held by one of the two parties, the baby would have stayed there with the mother as a, what we call in Lomdus, hanhogo. Keep it the way it is, where it is. However, the story over here is, it's in the meadow, in the ogom, in the marsh, in no man's land. So nobody's holding it. Nobody's holding it. The cow right now is there doing the transaction in the farm of Mr. Donkey owner, and Mr. Cow owner pulls the donkey. The cow's giving birth, not in hospital, believe me. The cow's giving birth in the Ogam, and we don't know if it was before or after. Who does the Ogam belong to? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there's physically no chazaka, geographical chazaka. Shifcha nami, where's the shifcha? Is the shifcha standing somewhere normal? No. The kaima besimta. It's in a simta. It's in a side street where a lot of avodim and shvachos are there. So now we have just ruled out, listen to my word, geographical chazaka. There are two types of chazaka, geographical and chronological. Geographically, the cow or lehavdil, the shifcha, are in no man's land. Mimela, you don't have a reality of motzim chaveroi. Nobody's taking out from the domain of the other guy. Mimela, what? What's the next best thing if not the motzim chaveroi? Yechlaiku, let's split it. Why split it? Because we have to decide. It's a Dror de Mamoino. You can't say Kol Dalim Dvar, fight it out. What do you mean? There is a real question here in Beis Din, so split it. Very nice. Frek the Gemara, Venukma Cheskas de Moro Kame, Veleviida Chamotzim Mechaber Lovaraya. What is Cheskas Moro Kama? The Chazaka, what's Moro Kama? The first owner, very good. The first owner, which means, although geographically the Shifcha or the Para are now in no man's land, they are out of the board game, okay, the Seder, no Chazaka there. However, who was the owner of the Shifcha of the Para up until the point of doubt? The first guy, the seller, let's call him Reuven, to be very original, So let him be the owner. The other one will be a Motzim Chavel Avaraya. Why? What's the logic? The logic is as follows. Chazaka is called, I'll say it in very simple language, I'll cut through all the lomdas. there's a term in English, and it exists in Hebrew too, and the source is from Latin, as far as I know. Status quo, status quo. In other words, we don't know if the situation changed or didn't change. Allah believes in status quo. You don't know if to go this way or that way, go back. In other words, if a woman, let's say, we don't know if Mekudeshes or not Mekudeshes, we don't know if there was real Maaseh Kiddushin or not, what do we say? She's not Mekudeshes. Why? We assume we leave things as they were before the suffix was born. Yeah, or the other way around. Suffix divorced, not divorced, we assume she's married. A person is Tomeh, he touched a dead person, and then we don't know if the mikveh ritual was kosher or not. We don't know if he really went into the water, maybe one hair was out. Then what? Is he Tomeh or Tomeh? We always put him back to the original situation. Same thing over here. Since the person that was the original owner is the cow owner, and it was his cow who gave birth, and when he was an unborn baby, the baby too belonged to him when he was unborn, when he was a fetus. Then now it's born. We have a question. Yes, no, maybe so. Then what? Let the other guy be a motzei mechaveroi. Prove to me that the transaction took place after it's changed hands, because the original status quo situation, it didn't change hands, right? So it belongs to me. Why won't we say that? So why splitting? It should belong to the mocher, to the seller. Here comes the Gemara with a big thumb. Omani sumchusi. Our Mishnah, or so it seems that now, simply doesn't believe in the motzei mechaveroi of Araya. Wow. Or at least not always. What does Sumchus say? And Sumchus is the author of our Mishnah. The Omar, very good. Mama nemutal b'safek cholkin veloy shvua. Sumchus is the achloku man. Sumchus believes that sometimes, and soon you'll see what I mean by sometimes, Sumchus believes that a motzei mechaveroi of Araya is extremely limited. Sumchus believes a motzei mechaveroi of Araya, in many cases, doesn't really show you, doesn't reflect the reality, right? Just because the person happens to be holding it now, right, or was the first owner, doesn't really give me real testimony over when the cow gave birth, right? So Sumchus says, no, I'm a koifer in a motzei mechaveroi of Araya, and I believe that Mammon mutal b'safek, sometimes, again, we split because he simply doesn't always believe in a motzei mechaveroi, and therefore he's the author of the Mishnah. Goodbye. And there's a big machlokes Rishonim here. I even made the whole chart yesterday, and I decided at the end to go with a simple pshat. The simple pshat is that Sumchus, right now we think, at this moment, before we're going to elaborate in the Gemara, Sumchus does not believe in the motzei mechaveroi, regardless of whatever happens, believes in Yachloiku. That's what we think right now, okay? And therefore finished, the Shifcha may be standing here, even if the Shifcha is muchzak by one person. Wow. According to some Rishonim, Sumchus says, "Lo manien oti. I believe in not the motzei mechaveroi. I believe in Yachloiku. I believe in Yachloiku. Whether the animal standing here or there, even in one side, I still believe that splitting is the right thing to do, and not the motzei mechaveroi. That's what we think at the moment. Okay. Okay. Question for now. Yeah, but before we continue. When Sumchus says he doesn't believe in motzei mechaveroi, what does that mean? Before we continue, remember there could be two cases over here. Could be case number one: the shifcha is is the shifcha the pora are geographically in someone's house. Could be the seller or the buyer, right? And Sumchus right now we think says, I don't care. Even to that point, in other words, Baruch, we say that holding something doesn't prove the point. It doesn't prove that it's yours. It just you happen to be the lucky guy. Or we can say that Sumchus is combating another point, less than that, and that is the shifcha. Where is she? In the market, in no man's land, or in the agam, in the meadow, or the paro? And then what would be the chazaka? Who was the bailim first? Chronologically, who was the first owner? And there too, Sumchus says, I don't care. At the end of the day, first owner, what do you mean status quo? It doesn't prove to you that that's the right thing. I prefer to split. Okay? That's begadol what we're thinking now. Really not going to ask questions now because it's a whole build-up what we're going to say. Zog the Gemara. Now we have to bring, before we continue, another factor. Chazaka is always better and stronger when accompanied by a bori. Tosis also points that out. If I tell you, let's say I come to the kollel every day with that watch, and then Tzvi says, Akiva, is this watch yours? and I start saying maybe. What kind of chazaka is that? I start checking all over and saying, this watch is maybe mine. That's not a great chazaka, right? It's geographically here, but my maybe on my face and my lips are debilitating the chazaka big time, right? Oh, and if somebody else would come and say, I know the watch is mine, makes a lot of sense to say, Bori the Shema, Bori Odif, even in the price of chazaka, right? Oh, now comes the Gemara with the question. I can understand Sumchus says what he says. He doesn't believe in what? When both sides are Shema, because the Machzik has a Shema. It's true that the other side is also Shema, but Chazaka with the Shema is garnished. When I come to Koilel with a watch and I say, maybe it's mine, like a 5 years old caught in the candy store, then what? Even it's not always a competition of who's more right. Even though the other guy is also Shema, my Chazaka is garnished. Chazaka with the Shema is very, very little value, if at all. And therefore, Yachloiku, that I understand, split it. But the Bori mi Omar. But in our Mishnah, the assumption is that the first part of the Mishnah, both sides are Bori. When both sides say, oh, no, it's mine. And the para owner, either she's in his Rishus, and there's also status quo, and he says, I know it gave birth during my period. Even then, Chazaka, accompanied, strengthened, fortified by Bori, he would still say that what? Metzia mechaver law of Araya is nothing and still Yechloiku? Omer Abba Bar Rav Huna, live with it. Yes, he does. Yes. Omer Sumchus Bori Bori. And if you don't like it, so in issue Sumchus, yes. Sumchus simply doesn't believe in the Metzia mechal Araya. You can say Bori and scream Bori as long as you didn't bring me Adim. I don't know, maybe CCTV is good enough. I don't know. Lamaisa, as long as you don't have real proof, just because it happens to be by you and you scream loud, Bori, Bori, and the other guy is also Bori, Bori, same thing. Bori against Bori is meted out. And now what? The fact that it's happened to be by you doesn't really excite Sumchus, and he would still say Achloiku. Yes, even the Bori, Bori. Rove Omar, Kol Sheken Shema V'Shema. Rove Omar, Le'olam Ki Omar Sumchus Shema V'Shema. No. Rove says no. Sumchus only said what he said when it's Shema V'Shema. Let me explain to you something, because I think I know you made a face, yeah? Sumchus says, according to Rove, interprets Sumchus like that. Only when both sides are Shema, both sides are maybes, yeah? So now, if you are a maybe on your own chazaka, it's true that the other guy is also maybe, right? Not everything in life is a competition and relativity. Some things are happy just as of themselves, incompetent. When I have a chazaka, but my chazaka of, what's a chazaka? It happens to be by me. Or I was the first owner, but I'm a shema, I'm a self-admit that regarding this case, when did it give birth? I'm a maybe, I don't really know it gave birth by me. I'm kind of trying my luck and saying maybe I'm right. The chazaka is nothing. The fact the other guy is also maybe doesn't make a difference. Why? Because you're only mile over the other guy's what is your chazaka. But chazaka with shema is by itself not a chazaka. Yeah? The Shem, he's saying better than me. Oh, here's a grandson of the Rogachover. The Shema cancels my chazaka. Chazaka with Shema is pour me a cup of Coke and put in gasoline. Thank you. Only 5 drops. I'm saying, Ezeu. Mimele Shema with the chazaka, nishka chazaka. Aval, bori ubori, loy omar. No. But when it's bori and bori, when the guy holding the item or has Cheskas Morikam, who's the first one, and he says, I know for sure, I know the animal gave birth by me, which means I'm logically continuing my ownership with my bori, even though the other side is also bori. Here, Sumchus would agree that my chazaka is something. My chazaka is a tiebreaker. My chazaka breaks the balance, tips the balance, and my chazaka is good. And then even Sumchus would agree to my historical moment. You hear what's going on here? Here's the case, according to Rava, that Sumchus would agree to Matzah if I'm a bori on the chazaka. Tosa says a lot to say about that, but I'm just translating the Gemara. A bori, a strong, assertive opinion with chazaka wins over, and really the original owner or the current holder will be the owner because he's muchzak with a bori. How do you explain the Mishnah? The Mishnah didn't say that. The Mishnah said what? That they split even if they're bari. And you say no. You say they're according to sumchus if they're bari. The nu takes it the machzik. Says the Gemara, the tani is an imperative, and you have to change the words in the Mishnah. Rabbi is so adamant in his opinion, is willing to alternate the Mishnah to alter the Mishnah. V'tani, v'tni, you should learn the following words in the Mishnah. You should have the following version. Ze omer shema ad shaloi mechalti. Ze omer shema mishalakachti. That's the words of the. These are the words of the Mishnah. In other words, en chinami. The first part of the Mishnah, according to Rove, the case in which they split, led by who? The master of splitting, which, as you said, is sumchus. It's only true, and both sides are scratching their head and sound very insecure, and it's a maybe. Then the chazaka doesn't help, and then we split. But it's a bori versus bori, and the chazaka is a bori chazaka. Then the chazaka wins over, even according to sumchus, and whoever holds it may be the owner. By the way, sometimes could be who? The owner of the donkey, the buyer, because maybe the par was already by him. Could be. Yeah, he schlepped the par to him. He was in an outer field where they didn't see the cow giving birth, but he was held actually geographically by the buyer. Either buyer or owner, Raya is a factor, but it's a bari according to Rava. According to Rava, not according to Rabba Baravuna. That's actually a good place to stop. We didn't finish the Amud, Beseder. So let's summarize before we continue into tomorrow. And I'm going to listen to questions now, I promise. Lamaisa, what did we say now? Again, let's summarize quickly. According to Tanakama, the mainstream opinion in Bava Kava and Bava Modalif, and in Bava Basra Kufnun Gimel Modalif, what do we say? That's what you learned in Cheder, and that's very nice. And that's all as far as I know. Beautiful. Whoever holds it, keeper, owner, keeper, finder, whatever you say in America, whoever holds it is the owner. Very nice. Chazaka. That's who Tanakama. Sumchus says no. Sumchus says I don't see logic to it. Who says because you own it, you're the owner, right? And therefore says Sumchus yechlaku. If you have a question, even though one side is holding, I still believe that the doubt is a doubt. In case of Dror de Mamayna, they have to split it. There's a real question, they have to split. However, today we came up with a chiddush. That according to Rabba Baravuna, according to Rove, when he made a huge qualification, I would say, in Sumchus only says what he says when both sides are maybe. When you have a chazaka and you're a maybe, what kind of chazaka do you have? It's a weak chazaka. It's chazaka of pushti. So mimela yachloiku. Even if the other side is the shema, so what? Yeah, it's like the kids tell the ganenet, he colored on the wall. I colored the wall. He also colored on the wall. So what? You did something wrong. Machpat what the other one did. Masha'enken, when both sides are bori, when you have a chazaka with a bori, then even sumchus, according to Rove, would say that chazaka helps because it's a real strong chazaka with a bori, and then whoever's machzik should be the owner, and they don't split it. Ad kan for now, and tomorrow we're going to elaborate more on that. Now it fits into the Mishnah. Thank you very much. Atzlocho brocho. I'm happy to your questions now. Thank you to our viewers in Torah Anytime, YouTube, and Kol HaLashon, and anywhere else. Thank you to everybody here. Everyone's back. Baruch Hashem. Atzlocho, Rabba, what? Whether I'm going to be here or not depends on one individual, 8 years old. But I'll do my best to be here every day. Most probably I'll be here every day. Yes, the plan is to be here every day. Bli neder. If not, I'll let you know a day or two before. Please open your emails sometimes, because in case I'm not here, I say the email to you, I'm going to call. Thank you, Atzlocha Rabba. I hope to be here every day this week, Be'ezras Hashem. Be'ezras Hashem, the plan is yes. Atzlocha u'vorocha. Thank you.